Welcome to this fantabulous web capture where I will explain kind of the basics of the class that would happen if we were actually having class today, but instead you get to watch them in this fabulous video form. The nice thing is that Oliver says hi. Yeah, that's all I need to know. Let's get started. So the first major project you'll be working on for this course is the curriculum unit and focal assignment. There are three main things you need to know about this unit before we look at the specifics of what you'll be doing. First, this unit is included in both the 368 and 369 courses, so your projects will receive grades that go into both courses, and both courses will help to prepare you and talk about the content of the project. Secondly, the project is also tied to your practicum site. The lessons you design, you will be teaching in your practicum, and your supervisor will be supervising those lessons. This also means that whoever your supervisor is the person who will be doing your grading. So if you were in the elementary practicum site, then Stephanie will be grading this unit, and her grade will go for both 368 and 369. And if you are in the middle school setting, I will be supervising your site, and then my grades will go for both courses. So that's kind of how it will be divided, though we'll be working together using the same rubrics and really trying to align how we are assessing the projects. The final thing to note is that the project is also aligned to the EdTPA. So it may seem technical in nature. It may ask you to do some things you haven't yet done when it comes to assessing your own teaching, but this is really important practice for what's going to be your culminating step before certification and completing the EdTPA. Okay, so what is the curriculum unit? There are three tasks. The first task includes a focal assignment that requires you to research your classroom community, the broader community in which that classroom is situated, and then to look at individual students in your classroom. And ideally, you'll have to pick a focal student and a smaller focal group to really pay attention to, design very specific kind of scaffolds and support for those students, assess their learning, and then reflect on what you might do differently based on their needs after your teaching. So it's really based on giving you specific learners to design for and reflecting on your own effectiveness based on what students are and are not able to do. So you'll it's like a 10-page just reflection with very many specific prompts to respond to. And then the second part in task 1B is to design then 3 lessons. The lessons are a series, which means they build on each other, and they're all focused on a central literacy outcome. It can either be comprehension or reading based, or it can be composition, writing based. But you'll kind of move them through the 3-step series and have some type of summative assessment at the end. You can also do this in a non-ELA setting, so if you're in a science or social studies classroom, you can still focus on composition or comprehension within that setting, and we'll work with you to figure out how to really zero in and maximize kind of the literacy, capitalize on the literacy in that setting. Then before task 2, you will get feedback from your supervisor on things you might revise, things to think about before teaching. And then in task 2, you will teach the 3 lessons. One of them will be video recorded, one of them will be observed by your supervisor, and the third you will just teach on your own. It will be up to you to determine and schedule kind of the order of how those are going to happen. So after you teach the 3 lessons in task 2, you'll then write some commentary reflecting on your effectiveness, how well things went, where and when and what you would make changes to, and there are a series of prompts again to which you will respond. Then in task 3, the final reflection is looking at the use of assessment, what students did learn, what they need to do next, and more specifically language demands, how well your plans supported those, or what you might do differently. So you'll see that there are a series of 6 rubrics for this whole entire unit. 2 will be for task 1, 2 for task 2, and 2 for task 3. So they're kind of subdivided. And then your grade for the whole project will be the sum score of all of the rubrics. For this course, you will need 4 required books. The first one is Crafting Digital Writing by Troy Hicks. And this book is very teacher-friendly. It's going to give lots of examples and really kind of give you the tools to intentionally design your own and use technology in your classroom, specifically with digital writing projects. So we'll be using this to guide us through as you make a podcast, a digital story, and an infographic in the multi-literacies unit. These readings will be tied to those workshops and they will help to inform what we'll be doing. The second required book is Reading the Visual by Frank Serafini. And this one is a little bit more challenging. It's very much theory-based and gives you a very strong foundation to understand the theory of multiliteracies. And this is going to ground our entire course and how we understand literacy and then how that informs the way we design in our classrooms. So while there are some ideas for teaching, and we will use his framework for looking at children's books at one point, but you might find yourself stumbling a bit more with this book, and that's kind of to be expected. The other 2 books that you are going to read are your choice. So one of them needs to be from Professor Hassett's book list of highly visual and interactive books. We're going to be using that for a 3-part series of workshops in the classroom where we analyze children's books looking at the visual features and how they relate to the graphic features and how they relate to the text features. So looking at how those modes operate together, and as you find out, we'll call that the multimodal ensemble. And then the other children's book is completely your choice, and you can draw from the CCBC lists, recommendations you heard from last semester, or I'm pretty sure that Stephanie has a good list of books for her course. So you can really choose any book you're interested in. And I should say it's children's or YA, so you could choose a chapter book. That's absolutely fine. But you will be using this book as the basis for your multi-literacies unit. So whatever book you choose, I really hope you like it because you'll be making projects based on that book for a series of 2 months. And then you'll have a final kind of showing of your projects at the end. So you'll want to pick these books soon and get to reading them because if you don't like them, you might want to choose something else before we get started on the project. For the multi-literacies unit, this is another one of your large projects that goes over the course of 2 months. And you will want to visit the project website just to see the details. I wouldn't read much further than the first page. It just gives you an introduction, kind of tells you what you'll be doing and what the deadlines are. But we're really going to scaffold this project. So it'll help once we read some of the early chapters, kind of get the vocabulary underhand. We'll read some of the things from Hicks' book on how to do these projects. And then there'll be workshop times to start using the tools. There's a lot of technology involved in the classroom. So it'd be a good idea to look over the website to kind of get a gist of what's happening, but at the same time, it doesn't start probably until I think October, I think is when the project really gets rolling. So the only thing you have to worry about right now is selecting that book that you want to use for the unit. And if you do have other specific questions, feel free to ask. The final major project for this course is the Writer's Workshop. And this is the one you're going to get started on right away. You'll notice that there are a total of 8 groups, which means we can have 3 people in each group because we have a perfect number. So you'll want to go to the sign up sheet and get signed up with a group. You can talk to people, you can sign up randomly, but your group will need to choose a grade level and a genre that you're going to be focusing on for your lesson. There's a website that has all the information about the project, about what you need to prepare, as well as what you're going to do as the audience. I've tried to design a much more interactive and helpful audience experience now that you have that first semester kind of under your belt. So go to the website, sign up, and if you're in groups 1 or 2, you're going to want to get working very quickly.